Welcome back to Women's Wealth, The Middle Way, the show that answers your questions about work, money, and family. My name is Susan McGlory Michael, and I am the CEO and founder of Glen Eagle, a wealth management firm in New Jersey.
My name's Carol Ann Fernandez, and I'm the COO of Glen Eagle. We're very excited today to have our guest, Michelle Prince, join us. She's the CEO and founder of Performance Publishing. Michelle's been a best-selling author, motivational speaker, publishing expert, leadership coach, podcast host, and certified speaker and trainer. So very, very qualified. Welcome, Michelle.
Well, thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Maybe we could just start off with you sharing a little bit with our listeners about your background.
So a little bit about my background. As you mentioned, I do have a publishing company. I love helping authors, but I didn't really start out that way. My career started when I began working for Zig Ziglar right out of college. And so that really set the foundation for personal development, personal growth, and that love and passion for all of things personal development still continues today, but that really was the foundation of how I got started.
That's great. I know in a recent post, you shared your thoughts on the power of clarity. How did you discover and nurture the clarity in your vision that propelled you where you are today, reaching your goals?
You know, I think a lot of the vision and the clarity came from disappointment. I worked for Zig right out of college, but then I quit to go pursue a career in software sales, technology sales, and I did that for well over a decade. And while I was successful at it, I was really kind of unfulfilled, not happy in what I was doing, and very much lacking passion. And so the clarity developed over time. It didn't happen overnight, but it became more and more clear to me that this is not what I was created for, that I felt like there was something else out there for me. But in 2009, I decided to do something with some of the questions I was asking myself, like, what am I meant to do? And I decided to write a book. And that book is really what launched my full-time career of speaking and consulting and then ultimately a publishing company. But what I found was, had I not gone through some of those years of just being unfulfilled and unhappy and seeking, what else is there I'm supposed to do, I wouldn't have gotten to the point of clarity. And it's something I love helping people to see, because most of the answers are within us if we, in terms of what our passion and our purpose is, and getting clear on, well, what do you really want in life, and going after those things is part of the power of having that clarity.
I think that's such a common story that you hear, just people not being engaged or finding fulfillment in what they're currently doing. I'm sure there's a number of listeners who are thinking, that's me right now. I know one of the things you talked a little bit about is like understanding, and you even mentioned at the end there, understanding your why and how that helps you then stay focused and motivated. Can you touch on how you figured out your why and then some ways that helped you?
Sure. Our why is, the way I look at it, it's really our purpose, right? It's why we're here. And I do think, though, that there are clues along the way. And for me, I know it took me a long time to recognize the clues. So if there's anyone listening and they're feeling like they're not quite there, that you're in good company. But I do believe that your passion, people say all the time, follow your passion, follow the passion. And while it's important to know your passions, it's not all about passion, right? But I think passion is a clue. So when you start thinking about, well, what is my why? What is my purpose? What am I really created for? Go to your clues. What lights you up? What do you enjoy doing aside from work or, aside from a task? Do you love kids? Do you love politics? For me, I love personal development. I love encouraging and motivating people. I just did it naturally to my friends throughout my life, but it never really occurred to me that could possibly be a clue to my purpose. And so that's really where I think it starts. There's a lot more you can do, but really just start asking yourself things like, what would I do if I couldn't fail? Or when do I feel the most in my own skin? Or what activities does the time just fly by when I'm doing them? Those are all clues, I believe, to your why, to your big purpose.
Once people start finding their clues and understanding them and discovering their why, what are some strategies maybe that they can use to then implement them into their life?
Well, I know firsthand that even after you know your purpose or you have clarity on your passions, your purpose, that doesn't mean you're necessarily going to go in the direction of them. And again, I know this firsthand because I knew at some point what it was I wanted to do, but I didn't have the belief. I didn't have the mindset. And so that's really the next step, is identifying well, why don't you have those things yet? What really is holding you back? And in some cases, there's legitimate things, right? Maybe there's an attention issue or procrastination, right? We're all so distracted. But a lot of times what holds us back is really what's going on in our head. And it's so subconscious. It's things like, who do I think I am? What will people think? And I know because I did this for years. In fact, when I knew I wanted to write a book for years, long before I even mentioned it to anyone, even my husband, I just kind of kept it to myself. And I remember thinking like, well, maybe I could do this. Maybe I'll just tell my story. And as soon as I would allow myself to dream and go there, I'd have this instant block of, well, who do you think you are? Zig Ziglar or someone? I worked for him. So it was kind of like I was comparing myself. But what happened for me is I really started working on my mindset. I started working on my beliefs and what am I really saying to myself? And what is it that I'm, what world am I creating for myself that may or may not be true? Just because you believe it does not make it true. And as soon as I started to shift my thoughts, instantly my world shifted. It went from not me, not me, not me, who do I think I am to write a book to, well, why not me? If one person reads it, well, shoot, if my kids are the only ones who read it, it would be worth it. And this is a dream and I'm going to do it. And so I encourage that for everyone is, yes, identify what it is you're created for, what it is you're passionate about, your purpose, your why, but realize something is holding you back from it now, or you would already have it. And whether that's procrastination or a lot of times it's fear of the unknown, fear of what people will think. But for most of us, it's just that junk that just kind of circles around in our head and keeps us from being who we were really created to be.
I think that's great. That I think we could hear this over and over again and we'll still struggle with it, right?
Yes.
Well, I can't do that. I'm not able to, or, who do I think I am? But I guess that's a good place to have our final question, which is a lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs like yourself. And making that jump is hard. But then after you make it, how do you kind of keep that clarity and vision and purpose? Because it's one thing to make the initial step, as you're saying, which is hard. But once you do that, I imagine it doesn't always stay perfect for too long before you're like, I can't do this, or I messed up. I should have never even tried it. So maybe just some advice you would give to entrepreneurs about maintaining that clarity and the vision and purpose would be great.
I would be lying to you if I said that I figured it out and it's just been that way my whole life. No, no. And in fact, this is what I think with every level, a new stage in your business or even in your mindset, something else is going to come up. And I've had my share of, things are going really, really well. And then all of a sudden you just kind of hit up against a brick wall and it's like, wait, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And that's just the truth. I think if we're all really honest with ourselves, that's how all of us feel at some different times in our lives. But I think that's why it's more reason to keep going, though. Being an entrepreneur, it's not for the faint of heart. I mean, I was having a joke with a friend recently and thinking back to our corporate days and being like, yeah, we're going to start our own businesses and forget this 40 hours a week kind of thing. No, instead we traded it in for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, So running a business is not easy and you're going to have those ups and downs. So I think it's keeping yourself grounded and going back to affirmations or going back to journaling. I journal a lot and I'm figuring out, well, okay, where am I today? What's holding me back today? And just knowing it's a journey, it's not a destination, and you're constantly growing in it.
I think that's great. I could listen to this podcast probably 100 times and we'll all still struggle with it, but it's always a great reminder to figure out your why and understand really why you're doing what you're doing to get you to the next level. So we appreciate you taking the time to share with me, especially, but with all our listeners on your journey and how you've figured out your why and continue to try to keep that clarity within your own life.
Well, thank you. And I only share what I know. And so I don't have it figured out. I am just on the same journey as everyone else.
Thanks for tuning into today's episode of Women's Wealth, The Middle Way. Make sure to subscribe to us and leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, or your favorite podcast app. Join us for new episodes every other Wednesday. See you in 2 weeks.